Good evening, Namaste, Jai Guru. Welcome everybody to today's class on our beloved Jesus Christ, His life and His teachings. As always, let us begin our class with a prayer. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, Friend, Beloved God, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashai, Swami Shri Yukteswar Ji, Beloved Gurudev Paramhansa Yogananda Ji, friend and guide Swami Kriyananda Ji, saints and sages of all religions, humbly we bow at thy feet. O infinite Christ, present in the body of Jesus and in all of us, manifest thyself as thy infinite glory, as thy infinite light, as thy infinite wisdom, and as thy eternal love in our life. We are thy children, Lord. Bring us home. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Let us sing the hymn to Brahma and invoke the presence of the Gurus. Let's feel the joy of Krishna, the joy of Christ. Although it is said that the life of Christ was full of sorrow, as most people believe, it is very interesting to know that when you go and visit Jerusalem, the place where he was born, the place where he was eventually, though crucified, though the streets that he walked, the churches that are now made in his name, all of them have a certain level of joy. All those who meditate can actually feel that tangible presence, that power, that joy, that peace that is there. So yes, on the level of the story, as far as his crucifixion is concerned, yes, that is a sad part. But then there is Easter, then there is the resurrection, and then there is the infinite Christ that we are talking of today. After so many thousands of years after he was crucified, we are still talking of him. We are just amazed by the miracles that he performed, by his power. And the same power that was there at that time is now carried forward as the same power in his name, or the ones who truly believe in their own self, the presence of the Christ consciousness, can commune with him even now, can feel his presence and his love even now. And therefore, it is so important not to just go by the superficial hearsay or what others think about a particular avatar, or even what is written in the books, unless you really feel in your heart and soul what the book is trying to say. You're going to be missing the point. And to be able to actually understand scripture, we need to go within ourselves, into that silence that is within us, because from that silence we hear actually the whispering of Jesus, the whispering of our Guru, the whispers of our Heavenly Father and Divine Mother. Okay, so now let's come to our affirmation section. And the topic for today is security. And security is a very important topic, because all of us in this world, we want to have a sense of security. There is so much happening around, so much insecurity, that we want to be in a place where we feel secure. So let us hear how we can go to that place, and which is that place, and how do we attain it. So Swami Kriyananda ji says, man struggles all his life to store up treasures for himself, to ensure his property against loss and his health against the devastation of disease. He rests his faith in outward measures and sees not that such faith is like asking a wave not to move. Security is his alone, whose faith rests in the Lord. Most practical of men is he who offers his life to God, praying, "My safety is thy responsibility, Lord." This does not mean we should not be conscientious, but after doing our very best, we should leave the worrying to God. Let us do the following affirmation. I live in the fortress of God's inner presence. Nothing and no one can break through these walls. I live in the fortress of God's inner presence. Nothing and no one can break through these walls. I live in the fortress of God's inner presence. Nothing and no one can break through these walls. I live in the fortress of God's inner presence. Nothing and no one can break through these walls. Mentally follow this prayer. I accept whatever comes, Lord, as coming from thy hands. I know that it comes in blessing, for I am thine, as thou art ever mine. Om, peace. Amen. So friends, now we come to our story section. And this is a story you may have heard from the master in one of the talks of the master, and may have read as well, but it's a good one to ponder with a very, very important lesson. And the title of the story is The Man Who Became a Buffalo. On the side of a mountain overlooking a beautiful flower-decked valley in India was a cozy hermitage. This hermitage was actually a cave carved out of a rocky ledge of the mountain. Here dwelt a great master with a devoted disciple. When the dawn wiped away the darkness from the face of the hills, the master and the disciple sang hymns together with the rising sun, which reminded them of the awakening of wisdom after a long sleep of ignorance. They smiled as nature smiled after her night of silence. While dawn still lingered over the valley, the master would ask the disciple to sit upright in the perfect meditating posture and to listen to his teachings with complete attention. Thus, every day, the disciple eagerly devoured the lessons falling from the lips of his master. One day, however, the master noticed that his young disciple was absent-minded and restless. So he gently said to him, "Son, today your mind is not on my words. It seems to be wandering over hills elsewhere. Pray tell me, what is the reason for your absent-mindedness?" The disciple respectfully replied, "Honored Master, I cannot concentrate on your lesson today because my mind is thinking about the newly acquired tame buffalo which is now grazing on the green verdure of the valley." The Guru, instead of scolding the disciple, calmly asked him to retire into his silence chamber, close the door, and think of nothing but the buffalo. One day passed. The next morning, the master looked through the little window in the silence chamber, where the disciple was still meditating upon the buffalo. The master asked, "Son, what are you doing?" The disciple answered, "Sir, I am grazing with the buffalo in the field. Shall I come to you?" The master replied, "No, son, not yet. Go on grazing with your buffalo." Another day passed. On the third morning, the master again looked through the window of the chamber of silence and inquired, "Beloved child, what are you doing?" The disciple, in a state of ecstasy, replied, "Heavenly Master, I behold the buffalo in my room and I am feeding it. Shall I come to you with my buffalo?" The master replied, "Not yet, my son. Go on with the vision of the buffalo and of feeding it." Another 2 days passed, during which the disciple visualized and meditated upon the buffalo. On the fifth day, once again, the Guru spoke through the window of the silence chamber, where the disciple was alone in complete ecstasy. "Son, pray tell me what you are doing now." The disciple bellowed, imitating the buffalo's voice, "What do you mean? I am a buffalo. I am not your son." To this, the master smilingly retorted, "All right, Mr. Buffalo, you had better come out of the silence chamber." The disciple would not come out. "How can I get out through the narrow door?" he rumbled. "My horns are too big and my body too large." Then the master went into the silence chamber and brought the erstwhile buffalo out of his trance. The disciple smiled to find himself walking on all fours, trying to imitate the object of his meditation. After a light repast, the disciple went to listen to the words of his master. His master asked him many deep spiritual questions, all of which he answered correctly, more correctly than ever before. At last, his Guru said, "Now your concentration has reached the perfect state. When you are able to become one with the object of your study, you can begin now to try to make yourself one with your object of concentration. Concentrate deeply upon God till you feel that you have become one with Him, and practice constantly." The lesson that we learn from this, as taught by Yogananda ji, says, without concentration, we cannot be successful. Concentration can be learned by applying one's full attention to any task. When we learn how to concentrate, we can apply it to any undertaking and thus be more effective. Concentration gives us control over the mind rather than being controlled by it. The practice of daily meditation can be an invaluable tool in learning to concentrate. It helps us to direct fresh energy to the brain, to develop intuition, to expand our perspective and receptivity. If you do not meditate already, consider adopting this practice for some time every day and observe the difference that it makes in your life. It's a very, very interesting story. And you may, however, think this thought can cover, but how can anybody become a buffalo? So a master has gone to this extreme of saying that the man started to behave like the buffalo. He took on the characteristics of the buffalo. But if you were to put this in a milder form, then on an everyday basis, now see the people around you. There are some people who will only talk about food, be obsessed by food, and just keep thinking about food. Then there are other people who will just be talking about business, working on business, transacting business, thinking about business, and dreaming about business. Then there will be another set of people who will be talking politics, listening to politics, discussing politics, writing and reading journals on politics, doing political discussions, watching news on politics, and maybe participating in the politics, whether it is at the colony RWA level or whether it is, the MCD or the larger levels. So, but there are those people who are just so deep into that topic. And then there are certain intellectual scientists who are so deeply into their studies that they even forget to eat or to drink, and they're so much deeply into their research that they cannot think of anything else. So whether or not we become a buffalo is not the point. The point is anything that we engage with tends to have its energy, influence on us. So whatever we keep seeing, we keep listening, whatever we keep eating, or we smell something, or whatever data from the outside world is constantly flowing into our minds. And we know that the mind is blind, means it does not discriminate. And then it of course falls upon the buddhi to discriminate. But there's so much of energy in the form of sense data that is being collected by our mind all the time. And if we are too much concentrated on one particular thing, then we tend to, over time, develop those habits and become like that. So even a saintly person who lives in the company of thieves long enough will start to think of ways of stealing well. And similarly, a person who is a thief, who's a robber, who's a dacoit, who comes in the company of saints, or even once who comes in the company of a saint. For example, Angulimal came in the company of Lord Buddha, and he was changed in that instant. So the important thing here is, yes, we have to have the power of concentration, but we also must know what we are concentrating upon, because that we will become. All our thoughts, all our energy is going to be modified according to whatever we are putting into our system. And the same things we will reflect from our body and mind. So when if a person who's interested in politics, when he'll speak only about politics, and same with other sets of people. So thankfully for us as devotees, Master has trained us that when Guru Bhais, they get together, they talk about God, they contemplate upon God, contemplate on truth. This is such a blessing, and that is the importance of satsang, is that people, like-minded people, get together and talk of the highest. And in a beautiful shloka in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna happily says to Arjuna that my devotees are contented by talking about me. So thanks to God and the Guru that we are all happy to talk about God and his avatars. And this brings us to the study of the New Testament, the Bible. And last time we talked about the law of karma, how Jesus says to his devotees and disciples that you needn't to wait for 4 months for harvest. Don't say that the harvest will come after 4 months. Just lift up your gaze, lift up your eyes, and you will see that the harvest, the white harvest, is ready. It's ready to partake, that you can enjoy it. That I have actually, he has sown the seeds of that, the harvest of which we can enjoy just by lifting our eyes. And lifting our eyes, of course, means bringing up the gaze to the point between the eyebrows, but that also means lifting all our energy from the lower chakras, which are matter bound, towards higher chakras, which goes eventually towards space, towards spirit, and towards love and joy. Okay, and then we ended the last class by reading from the gospel about the miracle of the child that was healed. So in short, what happened was after Jesus traveled from Judea via Samaria to Galilee, so he's now coming to Galilee, and in this area many are following him. And there is a particular nobleman whose son is very sick, and he is on the deathbed. And the son is in Capernaum, which is distance-wise is like almost 1 to 2 days of traveling to on foot or on a cart to Capernaum. So here the nobleman sees Jesus and he requests Jesus to heal his son, to come with him. He says, unless you come with me, my son will die. And Jesus says with power in his words and his voice, he tells the nobleman, your son liveth, go thy way. So he commands the nobleman to go on his way. And so the nobleman starts to walk back to his village. He reaches there the next day, and his servants come running out to the house to tell him that your son liveth. And then he asks that what is the time when the change happened in the health of the child. And then the servants report that it was on the previous day at a particular hour. And the nobleman knows very well that it was the very same hour in which Jesus had proclaimed that thy son liveth. So this is such a beautiful story about one of the miracles. He healed so many people. And this is one of the miracles that Jesus performed. And Yogananda ji goes into great detail about explaining the power of healing of an avatar in general. What is it that controls healing? This is a chapter from the book which is relevant to each one of us. So I will go a little more in detail because healing is very important for all of us, whether it is on the physical level, mental, emotional, financial, or soul level. We want to heal the ignorance and we want to be one with God. Okay. Guruji says, God should not have to prove himself through miracles to earn the love and trust of his children. Each one, through his own free will and perfect accord, should make a voluntary choice of the heart to love God and to seek to know him. So ideally, there should be no specific demonstration of miracles. But of course, God knows that it was the time of Kali Yuga and people were matter bound. So unless some signs were shown to the public, they would not believe in the presence of the Christ. And so therefore, actually, the choice lies with us. If we believe, if we truly believe, if we have faith, then we can actually see miracles already happening in our life all the time. And as the saying goes, for those who believe, no explanation is necessary. For those who do not believe, no explanation is possible. So if your heart is open, your heart just knows that yes, the Lord loves you, the Lord protects you, then you do not have to be, God does not have to prove to you again and again. You just know that he is with you. He is always looking over you and protecting you. Then Guruji says, in the wisdom of a master, one should recognize the divine presence and be inspired towards God realization without the impetus of supernatural demonstrations. Nevertheless, seeing that the nobleman's faith was sincere, Jesus sympathetically told him, go thy way, thy son liveth. So yes, God is very, very merciful. God is very, very compassionate. He understands our human heart, and he knows that a father's heart pains when the son is not well. And therefore, in his compassion and mercy, Jesus tells him that your son will live. God-realized souls who are in tune with the divine will can instantaneously produce any desired changes in matter, including the human body, by concentrated thought, which acts on and restructures the energy matrix underlying each material form. So now, how is it possible that they can work upon that, upon the energy of another person? It's because all the great avatars and masters, they can feel the oneness of the energy present in them as a continuum of the energy present in another point of universe, that may be in your body. So since they can feel that continuum, so and their command is so powerful, they are one with the universal intelligence, that with their spoken word, and they using that common intelligence and knowing the common energy matrix, they can transfer that healing power immediately, instantaneously. And this is not, for those who know this law, it is not a miracle. They just know it's a science that all of us can use. Okay. The creative vibratory thought of sickness was firmly fixed in the consciousness of the nobleman and his son. But Jesus's thought, he thought differently, and so his son recovered. So Jesus was able to displace the dream of sickness by a dream of health in his son. So now think about it. A child is sick, and of course he's thinking that I am sick. No, like all of us do. When the body is not well, we tend to say, oh, I am sick. And the father is also thinking that my son is sick. But Jesus knows that both of them are souls, that both the souls are perfect, and that by his command of intelligent word and vibrations, the dream, the false thought that I am sick can be replaced by I am perfectly healthy because I am spirit. So he uses that intelligence and that power, which he transmits instantaneously, and the son is healed. Now, this brings a question mark to our own thought process. Are we all the time affirming some negative things? For example, I may say, one is, of course, I am sick. The other may be, oh, I am not so confident. Oh, maybe I cannot do this. Oh, I may not be successful. Oh, I will not be, successful, not only financially, or even if I try, I cannot get salvation in this life because it is too much for me. I am this pitiable little petty creature, and those avatars are so great that they can do it, but who am I to get salvation this lifetime? Oh, I'm such a limited creature. No. So you are affirming this wrong statement to yourself. The truth is different. The truth is, right now you are the soul. Right now you can be realized. You are realized, you just don't know it. So you are the truth, you are the spirit, you are God's joy, God's peace, God's wisdom right now, and that is the truth. So affirm the truth. So don't say, Master said that even if the body is dying, and even if it is dying of ill health, you should never, even when you're leaving the body, you should never say this, that I am sick. Because you, the soul, are not sick, cannot be sick. The body may be sick, but you are not the body. The mind may be tense, but you are not the mind. You may have certain emotions in your chitta, but you are not those emotions. So saying that I am healthy, I am perfect, I am well, I am successful, I am wisdom, I am joy, I am love, stands true at every point in time and at every point in space. You are not lying to yourself, because you are the soul, and that is the truth. And it is only that truth that will set you free. So therefore, from now on, all of us, we should be very, very alert and aware of what are the thoughts that we are thinking. Are we sowing the seeds of negative affirmations unknowingly, casually, unintentionally? The universe doesn't know you're doing it unintentionally. It will just use it as a mathematical equation. It will add up the energy. So please be alert. Wake up. It's a wake-up call to modulate your thought. Every thought counts. So don't think that, oh, for some time, I can pity myself. I can use this time to say, oh, I've had such a difficult life and I've done this, and I can pity myself and I can chide myself and do that. But just again, that's a waste of time and energy. The truth is, the mathematical zero of the universe will be shifted if you keep thinking in negative terms. So you have to bring it back to the central self that you are, and that is the truth. So therefore, first we have to kill all negativity by positivity. So whatever negative from zero minus is going down, that energy has to be, how will it come to zero? When we add positivity to it. So the minus, when you add plus to it, it will come towards zero. And that is where we actually want to stay. And that zero is not nothingness. That zero is the point where there is absolute stillness, where there is eternal joy, and where there is eternal peace. So again, important thing, watch your own thoughts. Master said you are living under your own wishing tree. Whatever you think can come true. So watch what you're thinking. Okay. A divinely strong mind implanting a thought of health and perfection in another person can dissolve a stubborn thought of illness and cause a surge of restorative healing energy. So a person who has a weakened will because he has been sick for some time, and in front of him, let's say, stands Jesus, who has divine will in him and who has such power in him. So just by changing that thought process, he will make the energy in the diseased person rise, and it is the rise of the energy of the diseased person that will heal his body. So by thought, he is actually manipulating the energy field in the body of the sick person, and that when the energy is roused and awakened, it is that energy which heals. Ultimately, Master says, all disease can be found to have psychological roots, with every thought in turn being an ideation of consciousness. Now, this is a very important statement. Master says all diseases can be found to have a psychological root. So every disease that is present right now is something your mind has thought earlier, some false information it has feeded itself, and therefore disease processes happen. Now, Swami Kriyananda ji had a friend by the name of Louis Hay. I'm sure you've heard. She was a great author, and she's written many books on how to heal yourself and how to heal your body. And Louis Hay talked a lot about affirmations and detoxification of the body. And she was one person who actually came out from, she had cancer when she was young. And by using detoxification treatments like yoga, like pranayam and positive affirmation, she was able to achieve full remission. Full remission means she was cured of the cancer. And then as she grew in life, she observed people's thought processes. And she was, I think, part of some TM meditation groups, transcendental meditation also she joined. But she wrote multiple books, and she has actually corroborated on what thought process can lead to what kind of diseases. So it's very interesting that every disease can actually be traced back to a wrong thought process. And for cancer, I have read in few places that people who have a lot of resentments in them tend to develop more cancers. Now, this has not been proved. I'm a medical person, so we don't have enough data to say that this may be true. But if you look around yourself, you will find that yes, there are certain people with a more negative kind of mindset who do end up with certain kind of diseases. There is a correlation. For example, people who are not able to digest emotions of other people or criticism from other people also have digestive difficulties as far as physical food is concerned. People who are unable to let go of attachments, people who are unable to communicate their difficulties to others tend to have difficult physical problems like constipation. There's so many interrelated things. And so many chemicals are related. When we continuously, if we live in worry, if we live in fear, many chemicals are secreted in our body, and those chemicals are actually governing how the cells are functioning in the body. And everything is energy in the end. The chemical is also an energy. The cell is also energy. Every mass is also energy. So one type of energy, and beginning from thought, is affecting another type of energy, which is eventually affecting the manifested reality of matter. So please, again, start watching your thoughts and keep this affirmation. I am healthy. I am well. I am protected. I am loved by God. Now, you may say that if this is the case, then why is it that many saints also fall sick? And there are many saints we know of who've had cancer, who've had multiple diseases. And this is mainly because they take up the karma of others. You may also say that there are so many people who are very nice outwardly. They have a very decent, very good people, morally uplifted, upright people who tend to fall sick. So that is also can be for multiple reasons. One is, of course, we know that according to Patanjali Yoga Sutras, the life that we are living now is just the result of what has been sown in the past. This is prarabdha karma. So some for negative thinking or some karmic patterns was initiated in the past, which is now resulting in some disease process. Now, so the only way to actually rise above all of this suffering, and this is a continuum, if we do not think correctly now, it will lead to some other disease process in the future. So the way to actually cut out this, how to rise above this, is to go into that point of wisdom where you know you are the soul. Once you realize through continuous meditation, through regular japa, through regular practicing the presence of God, through Kriya Yoga, once you realize you are the soul, then even if the body suffers because of prarabdha karma, you are above it. So all the suffering, in a sense, you can say is karmically related one way. Why karma? Because we have desires. So we sometime would have had some desire, therefore we did some karma, and now we are having those results. Now we should ask this question, why we are having desires also? We are having desires because we do not know our real nature. We think I am this little self and this is this large world, and I want something from it. The truth is that this whole world is an appearance in my true self. And once I know who I am really, then I wouldn't want anything. And when I wouldn't want anything and I will be in a state of desirelessness, then no karma is bound to happen. And then whatever happens to the body and mind, I will be above that. So in truth, the only way to rise above all the suffering of this world is to know who you really are. And that is why Master suggested, he always kept telling everybody, meditate and achieve God realization soon, because that is the only way to rise above all the suffering of this world. Okay. And now Master goes into detail on how the energy actually affects the cell. So he says, disease thoughts can upset the entire government of the life force in the cells, if strong enough or chronic enough. Such thoughts manifest as bodily disease. Conversely, a strong thought of health can correct any disorder in the cellular system. I will read this again. A strong thought of health can correct any disorder in the cellular system. Concentrated human thought touches divine thought. It is that which can heal, not unfocused, fanciful thought or imagination. So in his book of healing and healing techniques, Master says, why is it that people are not able to heal themselves? Just if this is the truth, why is it they are not able to heal themselves? The answer to that is their thoughts are so restless. There is lack of concentration. So they have not focused on God or focused on health long enough or strong enough to have a healthy body. Just like in the story, when the disciple focused so much on the bull, he manifested the bull, And similarly, if we want to truly manifest that the health in our lives, then we have to so fully be concentrated on self-realization, on the realization that we are healthy souls. Then only we are able to achieve that. So because our effort may be, maybe broken, it is not an unceasing effort. It is not so strong. Also because we have conditioned over lifetimes of living in a mortal body. Therefore, all of that needs perfect concentration, perfect attunement, and that develops over a period of time for most of us. To effectively move divine thought, one must be conscious of the relation of thought, life force, and physical body. So this is again a series from all creation has come from thought, then energy, and then matter. So anything that is happening right now in terms of a physical reality has its origin in energy and has its origin in thought. And therefore, if we want to change the physical manifestation that is around me, in my body or around me, then I must change the thought process that is causing this, or the energy which is manifesting as the present situation. Rather than merely asserting the delusive, unreal nature of the body and its diseases, it is better to say the body is not what it appears to be. It does exist, though, only as a frozen thought and energy of God. So now tell me, how many of you actually have this thought when you are having pain? But the truth is, if we have this thought, if we keep this knowledge upfront in our mind, if we keep it ready to use, then even when we are in a difficult situation, especially physically, we can say to ourselves that this body is a frozen thought of God. This pain that is happening because of the connection between the senses, the sense objects, and the interplay of thought, energy, and matter. So you are actually becoming impersonal to your own body. Now, when you are in a disease state, it is very difficult to become impersonal. Therefore, every day when our health is relatively okay, we should practice detaching ourselves from the body. We should become a witness and say, oh, this is a body, the cells of which actually are frozen thought of God's energy. It's actually unreal. If you think of an incident that happened, let's say 20 years ago, it appears like a dream, doesn't it? So when you awake from the limited mortal consciousness, and everything appears like a dream. But for that, your mind has to be purified. And to purify the mind, positive affirmation of truth is a very, very good way. Okay. Instead of intellectualizing the delusive nature of the body, you should make the effort to realize how thought condenses into energy and energy into flesh and blood and tissue. Neither fanatic fancy nor dogmatic belief bestows this realization. It comes by tuning in with God through some technique of awakening his consciousness in the soul. So, सिर्फ बातें करने से नहीं होगा, सिर्फ पढ़ने से भी नहीं होगा, सिर्फ ये इंटेलेक्चुअलाइजेशन से भी, सिर्फ हम अगर एक पैरेट की तरह रिपीट करेंगे ना कि आई एम अ सोल, आई एम अ सोल, आई एम अ सोल, उससे भी नहीं होगा. You have to feel that you are the soul. And how do you feel that you are a soul? It's the only way is meditation. So you have to go into that silence of your soul where you know that this space, the emptiness from the ego, the emptiness from the body and mind, which is right inside you because you are pure consciousness. Once you go into that space, then only you realize who you are. And once you realize who you are, then this theory becomes practical. But of course, for the first time, the process of Jnana Yoga is Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam, meaning first you have to listen to the truth, which we are doing right now. Second step, you have to contemplate upon the truth. And third is to continuously meditate on the truth. So if you continuously meditate on what you have heard from the scripture, and then become a third person in your own life, watch your own life story as a third person story, you will realize that what is being said here becomes actually true to you, and it is only truth that will set you free, not any theology, not any ideology. In this state of enlightenment means when you've realized to an extent that you're not the body and you are not the mind, in that state you will realize that the body and the entire cosmos are but frozen dreams of the Creator, and that our consciousness and is an individualization of his consciousness. Okay, so now here's a trick that was suggested by Swami Vivekananda and Ramakrishna Paramhansa here. So many times when we are in deep pain, and it's tough to say I am Brahman, who will say that I am spirit, because I'm feeling pain at that time. So so Ramakrishna Paramhansa said that once you're not in pain, if you're not in pain, then you can live in Jnana Yoga and continue to contemplate upon the fact that I am spirit, I am that consciousness, I am pure awareness. But if you are in pain, then you can use the aid of Bhakti Yoga and you call upon the mothers. You can become that child of the mother, because in a sense, you are the child of the universe, and say, Mother, please help me. So it's okay. It's okay when you are in pain not to be, as stiff as a jnani and say, oh, I am Brahman and I cannot feel anything, because that is not your truth at that point in time. In that point in time, your truth is that you are feeling the pain. So when that happens, then you use the love of God, you practice his presence, you can call upon him as father, as mother, as friend or beloved. And then in that state, you will feel helped, you will feel comforted. And once the pain goes away, again, you are in a relatively healthy state, then you can again practice the realm of Jnana Yoga, where you say, I am spirit, I am the Atman, ever free. So these are the ways you can use the teachings of yoga, the teachings of the scriptures that have been handed down from the millennia, from guru to disciple. And these are the tricks that the gurus give to the disciples. So very useful tips these are on the spiritual path, because we do get caught up in these situations. Okay. The life force in the body has the absolute power to construct or destroy the body. But the life force can only perform according to the will of the bodily owner. Very important 2 points. So first, it is said that who has the absolute power of control in your body is the energy. So that means that the quality of energy that your body is having is determined by many factors, certain outside factors and certain inside factors. The outside factors are, of course, in the form of food. What kind of energy are you feeding the body? Then in the form of prana, means your breathing. How is your breathing? Is your breathing shallow and fast and very superficial? Or are you doing deep pranayam techniques to improve your breathing? That will change the quantity and quality of prana in your life, which will determine the health of your body. So these are outside measures. Inside measure, Master's second point, he says, the life force will function only according to the will of the bodily owner. Now, who is the owner of your body? You are the owner. You, the soul, are actually owning the body, but you have forgotten. You have become a slave of the senses. That is besides the point. But you are the owner of this chariot. Many Upanishads can compare the body with a chariot. So who is the owner? You are the owner. And how much energy you have depends on your willpower. So anytime you feel that you are low on energy, and I'm not talking of states when you are feeling diseased or, there's a lot of sickness, but in otherwise healthy states, there are times in a day or sometimes few days in a week when we feel low on energy. So remind yourself of this truth, that the energy in your body is dependent on the willpower that you have. And if you do energization or deep pranayam techniques at that time, and recall that you are the owner and master of this body, and that with your own power, you can bring in cosmic energy to feed the bodily cells, you will feel joy and you will feel more energetic. Try doing any of the techniques Master has given. That includes energization exercises, that includes pranayams, that includes chanting. Now, chanting is a very, very wonderful technique. So there are times during a working day when you cannot do energization in the middle of nowhere, in a working station, so you cannot do that. But you can chant, if not outwardly, inwardly. So mentally, I have tried this many times. Anytime I feel my energy is going towards moodiness because of the situation, I will mentally sing to myself, joy, 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 ever new joy. And it takes just 1 to 2 minutes to actually shift the consciousness from, oh, how bad things are, to, okay, there's joy everywhere. And this can be tried by everybody. Okay. Most persons do not know that their will can be trained to command the body to bring about miraculous changes in it. Hence, the wonder-working life energy remains disobedient most of the time to their conscious directives. So because you don't Don't think that you can control the energy. Therefore, you don't try to control the energy, and therefore energy is never in your control. So from now on, we positively affirm that I am the master of this body. I am the owner of this body. And this kingdom I will run with my own will. Of course, my will has to be guided by divine will, attuned with the Guru's will. And with that power, knowing that power is in me, I will try to arouse that energy which is sleeping inside me. Neither can the life force be mobilized by a will that has become paralyzed by persistent physical or mental infirmity. So yes, Master is acknowledging here that if a person has been prolonged, he has a chronic illness, then over a period of time, his willpower will decrease, will diminish, the amount of energy flowing through his body does diminish. And here, so Master, what should be done for such a person? When one's will is debilitated by disease, it can be stimulated by the strong will of a mighty healer. The will of the healer and the renewed will of the patient awaken the life force to perform the desired healing. And this Master, at some points he's called it absent healing, but actually, if I am the healer, for example, and there is a patient, then I can project my wisdom guided will into the drooping will of the person, and I can awaken. When I do that, the person's will to get well improves. When that improves, the energy flowing in his body becomes more and harmonized, and that is what leads to his healing. So think of words of Jesus, words of Krishna, and that is why also think of the vardans that were given by saints. Now, so many in these stories, Indian Puranic stories, we know that Rishi gave one vardhan and it worked. So why does the vardhan of a Rishi work? Many reasons. Firstly, because the Rishi has been truthful through his life, has worked with truth. And we know that this is called Vacha Siddhi, that whoever is truthful for lifetimes, or maybe for continuous number of years, and whatever he says, the universe has to abide by that. So that is one part of the truth. Also, that saint can project his attuned will and power to a person who is in need, so who is supplicating in front, who is suffering in front of the saint. The saint is able to heal by projecting that cosmic energy, of which he is a channel, onto the person who needs healing. Now, all of us present here today, we have to some extent felt the power of God and the Guru in ourselves, to whatever extent that may be. Now, we can consciously sometimes, we can use that to help others. So sometimes you're just crossing the road and you see that there is a situation where there's a fight happening or something. You do not need to jump into that situation. But in that moment, if you just send out a silent prayer and say, God, fill this situation with peace and harmony, peace and harmony. This is what we can do. Or just saying, Om, 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 God bless all. So you should know that you are channels of the divine, and it is our duty, not only our right, but our duty to spread God's love, God's joy, and God's light to everybody. Every soul is in need of God's love. So we can, in that moment, take a pause and send out loving energy to the situation. In some cases, we can actually physically help other people. In some cases, we can mentally, intellectually help another person. So Master says, in whatever way, the person who's more into emotions, so for that person also, if you just send loving energy, impersonal love to that person, that will remove even his fear and worry. So in whatever way you can help others, you must consciously extend that help, and of course the channel is blessed by what flows through it. So now that you can project the will, your will can be projected on others. So however meager that may be, it may have little power or more power depending on how much you've been meditating and how much close you feel to God. That power can vary, but it is possible, and all of us can do that. So keep trying. Let's make this life and this body and mind an experimental lab, as Master said. Why don't we experiment with this? Why don't, if you are in a difficult situation, just in that moment, pray for peace and harmony and see what happens. Let's just give it a try. It works, definitely. Okay. It is a regrettable psychological error to allow oneself to be manipulated by negative thoughts. One should visualize the conviction of one's healthful experiences to strengthen one's health consciousness and therefore dislodge any die-hard conviction of disease. Now let's remember the words of Lahiri Mahasaya to Sri Yukteswar. He would tell Sri Yukteswar that your own thoughts have made you sick and your own thoughts made you healthy for a day, and just because you started thinking again that you are not so well, that you fell sick again. And the same thing Sri Yukteswarji has advised. He said that even when there is a disease in the body, do not acknowledge mentally its presence. If you ignore mentally its presence, the visitor will flee away. So he's also saying that your thought is extremely powerful. Do not allow the thought to flow with the consciousness of sickness, but stay centered and claim that you are the ever free, ever healthy, and ever perfect Atman, and the disease will not be able to touch you. Okay, we'll just read a couple of more points before we end today's class. If the strong mind of a healer can revive the will of the patient who has become paralyzed with sickness, then the patient can change his thought and energy and thus heal himself. No one can heal us except through the cooperation of the hidden power of our own thoughts. A God-realized master can produce healing in an unresponsive person, but it is much more difficult. And only a master would be aware of the karmic circumstances that would make such a healing possible. The power of thought in the healing of disease sets into motion a whole metaphysical process, cooperating with the laws of creation to bring the desired change into manifestation. So I think we can end at this thought. And again, importance of thought and energy in our own body. We must take charge of that. If we don't control our thoughts, then who else will? And if anybody else or any other restlessness proceeds in our mind, then that is the result of the disharmony of energy in the body, and that is the result of sickness. So we will always be at least alert of what is happening. So there are many, it takes years of practice to be alert of even what is happening. Sometimes we are absent-mindedly and casually thinking thoughts that we should not be thinking. In that moment, as soon as you realize that my thought process is going in a way which is not useful to me, neither today nor in the future, stop that thought process. Just withdraw and say, God, I give this thought process to you. Please free me of this pattern of thinking. I want to rise above my current state of affairs. Why? Because I want to come into eternal peace and infinite joy, which is my true home. And as your child, I want to manifest thy eternal joy, thy love and peace while I am living in this life. So we can displace all negative energy with surrender, with loving call upon God, and by consciously replacing all negativity with positivity. So with that thought, my dear friends, let's end today's class, and let's send this love, the healing power, the blessings and the grace of these powerful teachings to all souls everywhere. As a consciousness, you share your love with entire conscious creation. Let's pray together. Divine Mother, beloved Lord Jesus, thou art omnipresent. Thou art in all thy children. Manifest thy healing presence in all bodies, all minds, and all souls. Oh. 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 Divine Mother, beloved Jesus Christ, may thy love shine forever on this sanctuary of our devotion, and may we be able to awaken thy love in all hearts. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.